Hello everybody, welcome back. So excited that we could be back at school. Well, maybe you're not too excited, but last time we were together we were talking about notes on a line, because we were talking about pitch. So we were talking about the high sounds and the low sounds, and I think we even mentioned some middle sounds. So I wanted to continue with that. Just a reminder, I showed you that here's a line, and we can have notes that are above the line to represent that they're high sounds. We can have notes that are below the line to represent that they're low sounds. And we threw in a note on the line to show middle sounds. So if I were going to sing this, I can go high, middle, low, different pitches, and you can hear it get ah, from high to low. You can do the opposite. Actually, that would be the same, wouldn't it be? You do it backwards. Low, middle, high. And for right now, I'm just making up random notes that are low. So I go low, middle, high. Any ones that I want. Because it's not really set which one's which. Well, how do we do that? Well, we got to add more lines. In music, when we're reading music for real, we actually use 5 horizontal lines. And we call that a staff. Looks like this. And it works the same exact way. You can think of it like a ladder. So any notes that are near the bottom of the ladder are going to represent low notes or low sounds. Anything that's at the top of the ladder is going to represent high sounds or high notes. So I could still have a low sound, I could still have a middle sound, and I could have a high sound. But now, so low, middle, high. But now I can also throw in notes that are even in between those notes. So I have a lot more options now. Instead of just having 3 options, I can have a bunch of options. 9 options. I had to think about what 5 plus 4 was really quick. All right, because I can put them on the lines like I did here, and I can even throw them in between the lines. Okay, now this still doesn't tell me exactly what all my notes are going to sound like. There's one important piece missing, and that is called a clef. The clef tells me if my notes are going to be mostly high sounds or mostly low sounds. Now, we're going to talk mostly about just 2 clefs. There's a couple more, but you're rarely going to see them in music. The first one we're going to mention is this one. This is the treble clef. This tells me that all my notes are going to be mostly high. I'm still going to have low, middles, and high sounds, but they're all going to be mostly higher sounds of notes. If I wanted mostly lower sounds of notes, I would use this clef, the bass clef. This is what tells me that most of my sounds are going to be lower sounds. All right. Now, once I add that clef to the beginning of my staff, I have a really good idea of what all my notes are going to sound like now. So if I drew a treble clef, because I like the mostly higher sounds, and I'm going to draw 3 circles in 3 random places, like so. Now, as a musician, I know exactly what sounds, because I know they're going to be mostly high sounds, and I know specifically I want this, then slightly higher, then a little bit lower. So if I were to play that on my clarinet, it would sound like this. So it went from a note slightly higher, then a little bit lower. All right, let's see if we can change that a little bit. And before I play it, let's see if you can get a good idea of what it might sound like. What if I drew these 3 notes? What do you think that would sound like? Well, let's take a look. They all are on the same line. So do you think you're going to hear 3 different pitches? Or do you think you'll hear 3 of the same pitches? Let's find out. in the same spot on the staff, they're going to sound like the same note. Now, what if I drew something a little bit different? And I drew this. 3 sounds again, but they look like this. We see 1, 2, 3. Now this one's different. They're not all on the same line. In fact, they're all in different spots. So whenever we're going to hear 3 different sounds, do you think that they will be getting higher or lower? Let's see. Yeah, they all got higher. Remember that ladder? We're climbing up the ladder. So all of our notes are going to start getting higher. Let's try one more, shall we? Let's see if you can tell what this is going to sound like before I even play it. Bet you already have an idea. Here it is. 3 different places on my staff. So 3 different sounds. Will it get higher or will it get lower? Let's find out. Lower. Very nice. So as I get lower on the ladder, my pitches also get lower. Now all of these, this one and the last one before, these are all steps. Like if I were walking downstairs, I can go step, step. But let's see what it looks like if I don't want to step. What if I want to skip? Three pitches, going from high to low. But instead of going line, space, I went space, 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 meaning I skipped these 2 lines. So these are a skip. It'll still sound like it's getting lower, but I'm going to be spreading out my notes a little bit more. Still getting from high to low, but I skipped. Now, I could also skip by using my notes on a line. For example, now all my circles are on lines, and I skipped the spaces. Still skips, still getting lower, just using a little bit more space. Let's hear what that sounds like. Oh, same thing, same idea. So now we know that we have 5 lines makes a staff. Treble clef means higher sounds. Bass clef means lower sounds. We've looked at steps and skips. And if it's notes going up on our staff, that means our notes are going to be ascending. And if our notes are going down on our staff, it means that our pitch is going to be descending. All right, so now you can play a fun game that I attached. Enjoy!